part of our charm.
Broadcast is live. Welcome. Happy Friday. I'm Faye. I'm here with my first beautiful cousin, Mary, and we're here with our Clown World husbands tonight. This is my husband, Joe, and Mary, introduce your man.
Oh, this is Mike. Here he
Welcome.
is. Yeah. Mike is here.
I'm here.
Because Faye and I weren't done talking about what we were talking about last week, and then we were bothering our husbands, and we're like, "What do you think? What do you think?" And we're like, "You know what? Husbands need to be a part of all of this." Sorry, just making sure we're live.
Well, I think I am glad that they want to come on and say something about it. I remember after last week, I told you, I said, I'm done looking at this. I never want to talk about it. I never want to see these creatures again. But then there was a stream that popped into my feed that was in defense of Pearl, the girl that we were talking about. And so, of course, I got sucked into watching it. I was, Joe watched with me, and I called you the next day and I said, this psyop is maybe one of the darkest things I've ever witnessed in my life. And I said, this is evil. And these characters, whether they know what they're doing or they're not, it's ugly, it's evil, and it's extremely dark, and there's a spirit over it that I'm still trying to figure out. But I hope that tonight will be the last time I talk about it. But it's worse than I ever thought it was last Friday.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and when we talk about a spirit, it seems like I want to say a new spirit, but with our like kind of research into it, it's like no, this is just Gnosticism. Basically, they're trying to use religion in order to like you say it. You say it better.
It's a rejection of the natural law.
You have to speak up also.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
It's a rejection of the natural law and the natural order. And you have a situation where what they've flipped the script. They've gone to a reaction. Their reaction is chauvinism versus the reaction for first wave, second wave, third wave. They're all pretty much the same. Feminism was, oh, well, we're reactionary to chauvinism. Now the reactionary is chauvinism to feminism.
Yeah.
So it's ironic that.
But they're using religion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah. So like, you know, the biggest problem that I had with these people when I'm listening to them is how they, first of all, how they misinterpret the order in the world that was structured, but also how they look at it and say, oh, well, you know, there's an inferior superior relationship. It's not how it is, especially not in how it's supposed to be set up. There's not equality among the sexes. They're equal, but they have different roles to fill, and they have different responsibilities, and they don't bleed over into each other either. But that interplay of relationships makes things work.
I think they're unequal. There's an inequality in between them, but they're both valuable.
But the inequality is not in and of itself evil.
All right.
It's based upon their particular roles and how they do and how society works. You look at it, you have. Oh, sorry. I feel like I'm talking.
You are talking. You sure are, Mike.
But you know, you look at the head of the church is Christ, right? And then you have the body of Christ, which is the people. In a marriage life situation, you have the head of the domestic family is the husband, and then the body is the wife. The two aren't divorced.
Right.
The two work in conjunction. They are absolutely one, just like Christ is one with his church.
Yeah.
And you can't separate the body from I can't give orders to my hand if my hand is separated from me. No, they have to work in union. And if they don't work in union, then the natural disorder is totally disrupted.
I like it, and I agree. What do you think, Mary? Or honey, what do you think?
Yeah, Joe.
Still digesting this.
Because what they try to do is they try to make it like men are better than women, okay? And as I said last week, I was like, who the heck do these men think they are? Because they're like not their fathers, they're not their husbands, So they are men with no authority over these women that think that just, you know, by some miracle, they are superior. And I
Right.
think that's what, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
No?
yeah.
The only man that has any authority over me when I was growing up was my father, and now that I'm married, it's Joe, and that's because he's earned it, and I respect him. I've heard these girls. It's I don't want to use their language, and I think that's one of the biggest things. I say I don't have a problem with the world being the world. Okay, if
Right.
you're going to be secular, do your thing. Okay, but it's when people who call themselves Christians like adopt this very dehumanizing. It was even bordering to me as like eugenics language after a while. The high value and rating people on a scale of 1 to 10, very, very, very dehumanizing. When you're a Christian and you jump on that bandwagon, it's all for money. Okay, let's just cut to the chase. You love money, and the love of money is the root of all evil. And that's really why you're doing it. Although I do think there are some people that probably have good intentions that are just being used along the way. So I'm talking to the Christians using this language.
Oh, absolutely.
Extremely dehumanizing. Any Christian with any discernment would not even put themselves into these conversations with these pick me people. But another, what my daughter says, they're called pick me girls. Pick me, and they want. I guess it's like they'll say anything, and they want to be. I was saying like last week, they want to be one of the guys. Like some things I've heard women go along with in these conversations. I've only watched like 3, and I literally am done because again, it's ugly and it's very, very dark. I've heard women say, "Why would he listen to someone who's only half as smart as him?" Inferring that women are half as smart as men. Now, let me tell you something. You have a much better chance of survival with Joe and probably Mike. I'm not saying, but Mike, they're both educated men, okay? But I'm surrounded out here in the population with men that are pushing 200 pounds overweight. They got baby mamas. They got fluoride stares. Don't tell me that they're smarter than me. This is okay. But then was another one I heard that they just go along with. One ortho chick got a super chat, and the guy wrote in, and you have to read all the super chats, and it's again, the love of money is the root of all evil. And Joe nailed it. He's like, these people are so fake. They fake laugh when they get super chats because they're getting paid. And I saw the woman agree with the super chat that said basically, women took advantage of men by making pornography. I'm paraphrasing that. It's like, wait a second. Women took advantage of men. It's like, first of all, it's run by grabblers. Second of all, men are rich off pornography, not women. It's just like the little things that I hear that women are just like, yeah. And Pearl's the worst. But again, Pearl's not religious. So again, Pearl's an actress, and in my opinion, a very bad actress, and she's very, very dark. And there's a certain there's something behind her eyes that I can see, and it's evil. I'm sorry that Christians can't see it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
for sure. And I think what you've hit on is an important factor here, which is, the sin of Gnosticism, which came all the way out through. And, is the original sin of the church, split the church, and then Gnosticism became communism.
Oh, God, you promised you weren't gonna bring up
but
communism.
she brought up the unit of production. Is women have this mentality now that they're a unit of production, is that's what they want to be. And if they're not a unit of production in the economic world, be it in the smexy industry or anything like that.
Smexy.
Well,
Our children
kids watch, right? No, then they're nothing. And that's what they've been told, because what communism, socialism wants is everyone needs to be a means of production. You have no worth outside of your economic value in production.
But I was saying to Faye, and I don't know if you agree with this, or Joe. Also, Joe has yet to speak on it, but there's also a level of Darwinism, whereas we're all animals and we all just evolved. They'll use that like kind of, they call it natural law, but it's not actual natural law. It's like evolutionary law. They'll use that, and then what do they say? Like somehow we came out not equal. Like
Yeah.
on an evolutionary basis. That doesn't
No,
even
somehow
make
we came out
equal. Yes,
That's
yeah,
equal.
yeah.
That men and
Excuse me.
women can fulfill the exact same roles.
Yes, and it's
Which
all,
isn't
all right, let's hear it.
natural in society, in the animal kingdom, though, either. Which is the hilarious part.
Can I just say one thing before you talk, honey? This is really important. So it doesn't just hurt women, this very dark spell. And again, you know, they had their little plans go forever and ever, and who knows what this is going to take us. It also hurts men. After Friday, Mary, Joe was my witness. I was sitting with Joe on Sunday night, and I looked at him, and I was like, kind of thinking about everything. And I go, I kind of like, it just hit me that they really, when they say high value man, they were really, really, what they really meant, and there's nothing else to it, is how much money he makes and how much money's in the bank account.
Mhm.
It just hit me on Sunday, because that's not how I am. They don't talk about character. They don't talk about honesty. They don't even talk about luck, which would be shallow.
They do.
What?
They talk about height. You have to be a certain height. Yeah, and have a certain
Okay.
amount of money. Yeah.
But I said to Joe on Sunday, I was like, I just realized, I'm like, I don't even know how much you make. And that's the truth. I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, we have a house, we have everything we need, but like that is so, and for Christians to latch on to that and to act like, call someone high value just because of the money they make. I mean, that it couldn't be further than spirit-led Christianity. And I don't even like these labels at this point in 2023. Where the hell are we? But I had long suspected that the Ortho Bro LARP was nothing but a live action role play. And thanks to this little friendship they have with Pearly Things, they've exposed themselves completely. And now I know it is. Go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
Well, geez, I just lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
I know there's a lot. There's a lot out there right now.
It's funny because when you listen to these people, they mix a lot of truth in with their jumbled mess of words. I don't like Faye. I don't like the whole high value, low value thing. And some of these guys, the language that they use towards their so-called low value women is despicable. Like no Christian should really be talking and calling women some of these names that they use.
Yeah, my dad had a temper on him, but let me tell you something. If I ever heard my father talk about women like that, I would have been traumatized. It's alarming that some of them, like not all of them, but it's alarming that they have daughters. Seriously. The way they just like, okay, you're talking about low value women, so you're going to call them a skank, you're going to call them a whore, you're going to make fun of them for being fat, you're going to number them 1 to 10. It's like, I wouldn't accept that for my son. My husband doesn't do that, so it's not Christian. I mean, it's not what I accept as Christian. Go ahead.
Is it 304 or 344? I wasn't quite grasping that. You guys know that reference?
Oh, 304. It's whore, right? Ho. Is that what it is? That's what I assumed it was.
Honestly, I don't. I guess
But
I'm behind.
it's code for like.
I'm never using those numbers again.
I know.
It's terrible. I thought they meant like she's on a scale on 1 to 10, 304. Ludo, stop, honey.
And just to, to move off of what Joe had said and that's exactly what they did too. Is they come off and I'm listening to one talk in particular, and they're citing correct sources for the main part. They're citing them appropriately. They maybe even be talking about them as well. And in that,
hold on.
Can you start again, Mike? Sorry,
sorry.
You were frozen for a second.
Oh. So to back up on what Joe had said, is they absolutely cloak the truth. They take the truth and then they twist it a little bit, and they'll pick and choose things that were said, and then they'll come out with this opinion and say, oh, well, this is why women are evil or what have you, or whatever. And they totally ignore the body of the logic and reason on these things, and the theology, for lack of a better word, on the relationship between men and women. You know, and the status. Well, another thing that people don't understand.
Hold on, before you move on. Did you talk about that one woman who at least she was like, there's always, you talked about that?
No, I didn't, but I mentioned that they mix it in with the truth. And there was that one woman, I forget her name, but she did say, oh, well, there's always been heresies and you can't just quote the heresies to back up what you're doing.
Yeah, and then like eventually they'll come out and they'll speak against these things, and that's what a lot of these religious ortho bros and hoes, I think that's what they call it. Yeah. That's what they do. They're gonna pick out one thing that they're like, oh yeah, this proves my point, and then it like turns out that pretty much every major religion rejected that, and they spoke against it, and they were like, nope, this isn't true.
Yeah, it's like people point to like when Paul says, "Oh, women be subjugated to your husbands."
Yeah,
and that's the line they focus on. They don't read the rest of it or look at the rest of the tradition. They just say, "Oh, well, that's what that says." So you got to be. And look, we're all misogynists now. It's like, what? No, that's not how it goes, because it's like the woman. But the woman, the man is subjugated to the woman as well. They subjugate their body to the woman in marriage. The man is just as subjugated in that regard to the woman. The man has just as many duties in that regard as the woman does. You can't say,
but they're just not equal.
But they're just not equal. But no, they have.
But they're not.
No. I'm saying in that regard, they have absolutely equal duties.
Absolutely.
Equal subjugation.
Actually, I feel like the man has.
Yeah.
We're required to love our wives.
Well, but yeah, also yes, yeah, and that's equal. That's not. There's nothing weird about.
I'm not ordered to love you. I just have to like. All right, I serve my husband.
Yeah, it is true. We're ordered to respect them, and they're ordered to love us. I was saying last week they have the harder job, but when you do respect them, then
I love how close they are, and I'm like over here.
And
we've got the 8 children.
Maybe we can fit the 8 kids in between us right now.
We're not to get 9.
I think Mary might be done. Who knows? You're young enough, Mary. Where are you going, baby?
I don't want to get this.
Yeah, he's hiding things from the dog. We have a dog that steals things.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so and a lot of people are talking, and I kind of tend to agree. I don't want to be one of these channels that's like just calling out other channels, and I don't want to. I'm fine. Do your thing, but this is a very dark agenda, and it's toxic. And as a mother of both a son and a daughter, I don't want them to listen to this. I think you're wrong. That's what I think you're wrong. And I think that some of you know you're wrong, and some of you know you're on an agenda, and some of you getting paid to push it. And some people, I think, genuinely have good intentions and just are going with it.
Yeah, and I think that, to your point, I mean, I think they get proportional equality mixed up with mathematical equality mixed up with proportional equality. That you can be equal, but it's not mathematical. Like tit for tat, that's mathematical. That's what the feminists and what the
that's like the how the one is always like, then why don't women go like work in sewers or oil rigs? It's like that's too tit for tat.
That's mathematical equality. Yeah. But women, women have different things. They have different rights. They have different privileges too that men don't. Women have, like, in the legal system, at least in the old, there's this concept called the eggshell doctrine. So if you do something to somebody, just because they're particularly, vulnerable in most regards, you can't collect damages off that. Except at common law, there are exceptions. There were 3 of them mainly. One was children. Okay, you can't yell at a child to the point that they cry and they become mentally defective. Mm-hmm. Mentally defective people and pregnant women, because the law understood that women were vulnerable at that time. So we were going to protect them and give them special privileges that a man never had. That's recognizing their special responsibilities. A man's special responsibilities are completely different. Like, I don't know, serving in the military and dying.
Lucky you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But that's how the law, and that's how the law recognized these special privileges that each had. Women's bathrooms, men's bathrooms. Each
is that
has, well, I think your bathrooms look better than men's.
Actually, no. I know Joe would argue that.
I used to do maintenance too. at the tennis club. But I know the North Station men's room was the most horrible place on earth back in the day after a Bruins game.
Public bathrooms are just a trauma of life. That's how I feel. I hate, but anyway, well, these people too. I mean, I'm not. Okay, so men and women are at certain levels. Truthers are at certain levels too. So take my right to vote, because I know that voting doesn't do anything, and these people seem to be playing along with the whole facade that it's real. And so the other thing is that I can't wait to just ignore these people again enough that I stop getting Daily Wire, Tucker Carlson. Like, it's like, no. And then it was great because we found out in one of her interviews, I knew that the ortho bro thing was a LARP. I knew it. And you know what? I'm sorry. Like, okay, I'm not judging people by the way they look, but you do have to believe your eyes sometimes. And like when Convid began in March 2020 and these creatures were presented on the news, I saw that they had black eyes and no souls. And I said to everyone who would listen to me, why are you listening to them? As the ortho bro LARP has gone on, I'm not trying to be mean. The guys have gotten sweatier and greasier as it's gone on. And I'm going to believe my eyes. And then I found out that Jay Dyer, I didn't know this. He's on Alex Jones. It's like, it's like, well, now I know, and now I know I'm right. So, but like, it's the other thing is like, as they've gone on with this, and they're like, it's like, I don't know what like kind of oil they're putting in their hair, but I'm going to see that. God's showing me that you're greasy. Sorry. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not saying they're bad looking guys, but they've gotten like greasier. And then I find out that as they're doing this, they're going along with this very toxic. I don't think anyone should be listening to them, but like they're on Alex Jones and they want me to. They're talking about voting. I have got nothing for these people. Oh, and they also, the other thing they go along with is I heard so-called religious guys like of referring to Andrew Tate as like an alpha man. They're like, and then, you know, you're not going to be like treated like an alpha, an Andrew Tate, like you don't have millions in the bank. It's like, wait, didn't you say you're Christian? He's not an alpha. Like, what are you talking about? But I know, I get it. I get it, but I don't. Sorry, go ahead. They're not fooling me.
Now, do they subscribe to the Ortho Bros before Ortho Hose scenario?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. They wouldn't say that. That's the thing. I don't think they wouldn't call their wives hoes. They just call every other woman in the vicinity a hoe, even though all their wives are former Protestants. So let's hear your body count, ladies. Give me a break. You're not fooling me. Oh, anyway, LARPing.
Yeah,
I love to watch you LARP.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you for sure. It's like what are they even getting at with this bank account mentality? It's definitely, again, it's treating the men the same as women. It's like, oh well, you're just production. It's like, you know, this is the other thing is these, and we were talking about is how the measure of a society is the virtue of its women. So if you have a society filled with virtuous women, the men are going to come up to be valued by those women, you know, on a virtue standpoint, to be good enough for them. That's why people always said back in the old days, my better half, or what was the other one that they used to say? I married up was another one that people would say, is because, yes, indeed, you brought yourself up to be worthy of a virtuous woman.
Oh, yes. I like that. See, that's such a nicer way of saying it.
We're with gentlemen. You know, and I think my daughter, I was doing the dog bus with my daughter today, and I just was like, you're going to be so valuable. I was telling her about these dating services that they're starting to make, or matchmaking services. I said the most valuable, all these rich guys, they want beautiful virgins. They go, and on top of it, I'm like, they're looking for women that they don't want to work, they want to marry, have children with, they're rich. You know, I'm just kind of like joking around, just telling her what's going on out there, you know? And I'm like, and plus you're unvaxxed. And I'm like, but you know what? Maybe you guys won't even want them. I'm like, if I was you, I would seriously consider going into the convent.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like, just because somebody has enough money, has a lot of money, doesn't mean they necessarily reach the virtue level of your daughter or my daughter.
Yeah.
Not at
No,
all.
they don't, because the virtue has nothing to do with the dollar amount.
Right.
And that's why I think a lot of virtuous women will reject a site like that, being like, somebody's trying to buy me. What am I, a prostitute?
Yeah, it's like a mail order bride or
it's
something.
like, no.
Or
Right.
like you buy it in for a green card
Yeah.
or something. It seems like the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all, they're not about the women's virtue. They're all about, they don't talk about women's virtue. They talk about the women's virginity. It's
That's
all
the point.
material.
They
That's
are a
all
commodity at that point.
Like, I want to hear, like, I love, okay, I couldn't even tell you what Joe's salary is. I've never got hungry a day in my life. I'm sitting here on a computer at my house. I don't know. I'm fine. But, like, I care about, like, his honesty. I care about the fact that he makes me laugh. I care about the fact that he would literally die for me and the children. Like, they never talk about anything about character. And I think that is an insult to men too. You're more than your bank account. It literally just hit me on Sunday after Friday. It was like, wait a second. They really are. It's just really all about the guy's money.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
It should be high virtue, not
High virtue.
not high
I like that.
Yeah. Exactly. High virtue, not high value.
For both men and women.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
absolutely.
both ways.
And for
sure.
Christians, secular people can secular. You know, they can do what they want to do. They can, but like you're going to call yourself a Christian, you should know better. And I'm glad that we're all kind of verbalizing it, because it is.
But you have an adverse relationship to society by being these secular people, by being non-virtuous. The whole society is punished as a whole. I'm saying, as I was saying, a measure of society, of the virtue in society, is a measure of its virtue of its women.
Who are these women sleeping with?
Well,
that's the other thing.
That's
It's
the
like
thing,
these men
exactly.
with their like really high standards. I'm going to marry a virgin. It's like, how many women have you plowed through?
Yeah, exactly.
Was that vulgar? I think that might be a vulgar way of saying it. I didn't mean it like that.
For what's going on out there, that's nothing.
You should say body counts.
No, we're not going to talk like that. That's the thing. Like, you know what? Again,
I
great.
didn't mean it. I meant it like you plow through a stop sign, or no, you blow through a stop sign.
No, that's not good either.
No, sorry.
Well, yeah, no. I think, and it damages society as a whole, because their lack of virtue or what have you will also impact negatively the virtuous people, and it brings everyone down. It brings all the men down to that level, because it's like, that's all I have to do. Are you kidding me?
Hold on, I was saying that men are protectors of virtue.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if the men are being dragged down though by a lack of virtue in women, yes, it's almost like it's like declawing a cat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Go expand on that, Mary. I like where you're going, but like, what do you mean? Well,
because what we were saying is there's no occasion for the men to rise to. It's everything is what would you say, like for entertainment purposes?
Yeah, for
like
purposes only.
What's another way of saying it? There's a better way of saying it that I'm not saying. It becomes a pastime. I think that might be. Yeah. So once it becomes like a sport, and the women are down in the gutter with men.
Yeah.
Then what do the men aspire towards? There's no higher ideal. And I'm not saying men build civilization, so don't get me wrong. I'm pretty certain that they'd be fine just building civilization and women staying, kind of out of it.
Video game's awesome.
Kind of out of it. But at the same time, it's like men love to pursue women.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is interesting. That's interesting because the famous quote by St. Augustine is, many times I've gone out with men and come home less of one. Is it because of the men he went out with, or what he did when he went out there? Because we know he loved the ladies.
He sure did.
He debased himself, and he came back less of a man because he had abused the women that he was supposed to.
Well, I wouldn't say abused. Well, he lost that ideal.
I think he abused.
He lost that ideal.
I think he abused the women that he was whose virtue he was supposed to help in protecting. Maybe he didn't have direct role over protecting. He wasn't their father, but he still has an obligation to protect virtue in and of itself.
And I'm not sure that he was such a hoe because he had one illegitimate kid. And that was a long relationship and they just weren't married. So I am going to throw that out there.
We don't know how
Times
many
have changed.
how many ortho
What
hoes he had.
his body count is.
Yeah, exactly.
I
He didn't put it in the confession.
No,
They're
not
using their
God,
language.
no. All right.
We're
sorry.
using their language, but I don't use their language.
Oh, it's
Okay, I've always been turned off.
Joke.
And first of all, this is nothing new. I'm a little bit older than all of you. Okay, there's always been the girls that have like you know, been called whores and stuff and been sleeping around, and the guys that like all the girls. Like this is nothing new. This is just a psyop to kind of define it, because there is such a need in the world. We're so spiritually sick and things have gone so wrong that they're trying to what's the word, like, you know, they're trying to get it to, you know, to trap the argument that needs to take place, I guess. I don't like calling, it's turn off for me when men or women call other women whores. It's a turn off. I don't like it. What do I call, like, if a woman's a little loose? I call her a flooze. Like, or a bimbo. Like, I don't say this language doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I just had a revelation and I'm not sure if it's good. So you guys tell me if it's any good. So we have a lot of like musicians, I'll just use as an example. And they reached the pinnacle of their careers. They were out, you know, hitting everything but the third rail. But as soon as they have a daughter, they'll say things like, it's my job to keep her off the stripper pole. It's my job to do. It almost is that once they have a daughter, that true sense of manhood awakens in them. And they're like, yes, I must protect the virtue of the female and not allow her. Joe, not so much. I'm curious what Joe thinks, because Joe knows that he's heard also these quotes. I think it was the guy from Metallica who said it, Joe.
Lars Ulrich?
Well, you're talking about musicians, right? I mean,
Yeah.
some of the recent people that we've been watching have lots of daughters, and they don't reflect that at all in the way they speak.
We're talking about the ortho bros.
Yeah,
There's like one that's it's alarming that he has a daughter. I'm sorry. If I heard my father talk the way he talked, I would be it's not right.
But I feel for today's youth, our children, because, you know, when we were growing up and dating and trying to find love, we didn't have the instant messaging that's a technology that's out there today. There's so many different social apps these children can get involved with, and it's I don't know, it's numbing. Everything, like back in the day, it was more social, like interaction, face to face. Now there's this total constant contact and this whole other digital world. I don't know if I said that right, but
by design, because we as parents don't know. I don't know how to navigate it. I don't know. I brought children into a world that I don't recognize anymore. You know, I'm doing the best I can, but none of this stuff. I have children that make fun of me when I send texts because of the way I do it. I don't know how to text. I mean, but this is all by design to make mommy and daddy look dumb. But again,
don't say mommy and daddy.
You have to lead by example. You know, my daughter knows that, like, what she has is a flex. I know your daughters value themselves too, Mary, but also my son. My son, like, he's got high standards too, but he's not going to be mean about it like this little troll on Pearly Things. He would never talk the way that these quote unquote men are talking about women, but he has standards. He wants someone he can have fun with, but he doesn't, you know, I don't know. I think this is, I don't know, like, how much these kids are getting out. I don't know if, like, sleeping around is as much of a thing. I know that Birdie said that, but I don't know. A lot of kids are homebodies.
They're saying that there more young men are virgins into their 20s now than what's the stat? I forget. I saw a stat on it. And I will say, maybe if they didn't have online prawn, they might be a little bit more motivated to get out there and find the real thing. So I don't
Right.
think it's necessarily a win. I mean, speaking of everybody's virtual.
Oh yeah, no one's winning. No one's winning down here, wherever this is. This is a big mess.
All a bunch of losers.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, if I heard my sons talking about women the way these ortho bros, if I heard my sons talking about women the way I heard some of these ortho bros talking, I'd kick the living crap out of them.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
You get mad at them if they talk disrespectful to me. I had my son come up to my room after dinner and apologize because I guess you got mad at him. He was joking. You're too sensitive.
Joe's not going to let them get away with that either. But they're our kids. We have good kids, thank God. Because, thank God, it's just prayer. I mean, it is. It's literally thank God. That was another thing I heard that one of did you see the one interview, the one Pearly one I sent you guys? It was the one with it was Pearly talking to a bunch of religious people, and I kind of felt bad for the Protestant guy. I felt like he was brought in like just so they could make fun of him, you know. The one that was like wearing all the sports gear.
It was not, how shall we say, the fact that he thought that he said that Plato was from like the 1800s.
But then he corrected it, and then he said the Palatians.
Yeah, but
and he was wearing like all everybody harped on that. I felt like they were really disrespectful to him in that too. He was talking about the people in a certain time. I'm pretty sure he knew that Plato was like 400 like BC. Right? No.
To me, he's a very surfacey. When he said he was a youth pastor, I wasn't surprised. Very surfacey. He
former.
But the thing that he said at the end was like, was like, and then these women are like, my husband's addicted to porn, and he's like, but you're not putting out. Maybe it's because you're not putting out, and that's why they're watching. It's like, dude, do you know that what a guy wants when he's been watching that filth? Okay, maybe he's coming to you and he's asking for things that animals don't do. Okay.
Yeah, this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to go down here. Hold on. With the serial killer, I just told you.
Okay, you go with
the serial killer, Mike. I always have to throw in a little true crime tidbit. The serial killer from Long Island that they just caught, who was killing prostitutes. Okay, this is interesting because everybody is really confused over what are we calling these people? Are they prostitutes? Are they sex workers? Are they this? Are they that? So already everybody's triggered by like, why can't we just call them sex? Because remember, we used to call them prostitutes. Then to be nice, we called them sex workers. Now everybody's triggered by that. But anyway, he was into debaucherous. It goes from torture, stuff on his internet history, all the way down to child stuff on his internet history. It's like, I can't imagine that he was a good partner for his wife with that kind of an internet history.
Right.
So I don't think it's her fault. But anyway, thank you for letting me get my true crime tidbit in for the evening.
Yeah, that's the same argument. That's the same logic as the people I remember during like the the priest scandals, like whatever that was. And I would hear people would be like, why don't they just let the priest marry? Then they won't do that. It's like, you think that being married to an adult woman is going to stop being attracted to a child, you Riri? Like, come on.
Or a man. And also, not only that, a lot, like, they're only talking about the Latin Rite when they're talking about like Catholics. Do they know how many other rites there are? The Latin Rite is what, the only one that you can't marry?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe,
yeah.
The Eastern Rite.
So so it's like, even when they're having these conversations as orthos and all their whatever the heck they are, they're like so misinformed.
But even if they did a study in England of the Anglican Church, and they can marry the Anglican Church, and it was just per capita just as bad. It's because the churches were infiltrated by the communists.
Well, yeah, they did cover that also on the stream that Faye shared.
Yeah,
but I think also like it does seem kind of legit for a gay or a pedophile to go into
nothing
these,
legit about it.
no, but to go into these places where they're going to have access.
They're
and
predators.
We're seeing that now in the school system.
Mm-hmm.
It's off the rails in the
Yep.
school system, where we're seeing, grooming of young children, talking like about sex and your sexual preference.
Yeah, writing down. One of the assignments in one school was to write down to the gym teacher what your most recent sexual encounter was.
What grade was this?
This was high school.
Why? Like,
Because they're perverts.
Because they wanted to get some gratification off it. And this is, to your point, what you've been
Let
talking
them
about.
talk.
Hold
We're
on, no, but I want to
monopolizing
make the
this.
no, you're right. You're fine. You're fine.
About that college, series about that college murder is that these college towns and schools,
Wait, hold on.
all these schools
No, that's
are not reporting these crimes that are happening. They're not being reported.
You just combined two cases. You
I'm
can't do that.
I'm doing it. I'm just.
But don't leave the Idaho 4 out of this and make your point without it.
But I can't. That's part of the point. Is that like these college towns? They don't report these crimes. They don't report the crimes. Everyone's focusing on the crimes that are done
my gosh.
in the churches.
Internal investigation.
Yes.
Colleges do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And
I hear you.
Yeah, and all this other stuff, because I think it's prevalent in society at this point.
Well, I'm not planning on. I really am done this time. Last week I was like, I'm done. I never want to. But then it was just, of course, it was just interesting to see, because I kind of like, I watched kind of the orthos, and then to see the orthos defending the girl we had just talked about. I had to watch it, and then that led to another conversation. But now I'm really done, and I stand by it. I don't think that any true Christian should be involved, should be using this language. It is still just the fringe. My kids and your kids don't know about these people. When I'm out and about, I don't hear anyone talking like this. So I hope it just kind of
normalizing it, though. It's
they are. Well, because the orthos and the religious folk are not helping by talking like that. And I'm not. I don't. That's why I don't think that we should talk like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, have you ever heard anyone talk about that before? I sent you, like, single guys and stuff that work for you.
I don't know. Not really.
It was all new to me. It was all new to me, and that's a good thing. And I kind of heard about it, and then, but it's just amazing. Like when I watch it, and they're all talking like that with all this new language. And I'm not buying it. It's dehumanizing, and it even reeks of eugenics. And I'm all set. So, what else? I'll be right back. You need anything, love?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm listening, kind of.
Poor Joe. Joe, I'm sorry. You have the patience of a saint. Literally.
Blowhard on the live, and Joe's there like, I gotta stay here.
No.
The problem is my mind moves so fast sometimes that I can't even get the words out.
That happens to me too. You get bottlenecked.
Yes.
Like I turned to Mike at one point and I said, she's moving fast. And Mike's like over there just like, he's taking notes. It's like, all right, if you can keep up with it, it's fine. But Faye does have a brilliant mind, I will say. You do too, and so do you, Joe. Yeah, it's she's right. There's definitely a spirit to all of this. I feel like the timing is unbelievable, because in the vacuum that we're living in right now, with a lack of any guidance on any front whatsoever, now we have these people coming out and they're telling us things that are so close to the truth. But isn't this what the devil does? He takes the truth and he spins it enough to make it a lie. So,
but we're talking about it, and that's why you have to pray, in my opinion, for the three. God does not give a spirit of confusion. He gives a spirit of love, power, and sanity. We have to pray for discernment every day. I still haven't figured out the whole agenda here, but I've figured out there's an agenda. I'm not going to pay any more attention to these people. I can tell when people are doing something for the love of money. Above all, there's one person that I do. I'm not going to. There's one of the women. I think that she's incredibly sincere, and I think that she's very intelligent, and that's all I want to say. You know what I mean? With these people can get used, and they fall into things. You know.
Wait, who was sincere?
Just one of the ortho chicks. I think that I prefer the ortho chicks to the ortho bros. Is all I'm saying. I enjoy listening to them more, but they also degrade themselves with their language, and they go along with things just to be like one of the boys, and the patriarchy, and that's not patriarchy. You know, I want chivalry, and yes, I agree that you have to be a woman that worthy of protection and of love and of guarding and value. Yes, and that's how I'm raising my daughter, and that's how I try to be for my husband. But I don't know.
I don't even feel like I have to try at that. It's like I make so many stupid mistakes that my husband has to clean up my mess. I mean, no, that never happened.
Lucy, what have you done now?
Oh, Mandela. No, okay, sorry.
I mean, yes, I would like to think that, it's not the same in every home, but I can tell you it's very similar in every home where your husband's like, wait.
Well, you
wait, you what?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's cleaning up my mess all the time. Like, what did you have to help Lena and I do the other day? We were starting a show on Netflix that we like to watch together, and Lena pressed play before we got the recap from last season. We're like, we don't know how to get back to the recap, and we're basically two morons. And Joe had to come in. He's always cleaning up my messes, and I really appreciate him.
I downloaded something on my computer. And it was sucking I kept being like, Mike, it's saying I have no more data. What's going on? And Mike had to go through. He's like, okay, you can't have Discord running at the same time as this. It's like I had every program open on my computer. I was ready to throw my computer away. I was like, I'm done.
Oh my gosh. I've often said if it wasn't for Joe, I would. What, Mike?
You're absolutely useless. You're dead. We're dead. I can't shove this thing in the ground and grow food with it.
I can grow food.
Without Joe, I would be in an alley somewhere. Like, I would be bad. He really is my hero, and I'm not just saying that. And,
with our virtue intact, but like totally wandering the street like an aimless, confused.
It would be bad. At
the same time, that doesn't make you guys inferior. It doesn't make you.
But who says that we wouldn't?
Hold on. Joe just opened his mouth for the first time, and you talked over the mouth.
I'm just saying it doesn't make you guys not equal. Sorry, this dog's being a fan of it.
Yeah. No. Because by the same token, who says that we wouldn't be in the gutter either? The body needs all of its parts.
We need each other. And it's so beautiful, and it's so. Go ahead, Mary.
Sorry. Sometimes me and my sisters do throw around in private when we're not with our husbands and we're exalting ourselves. Perhaps we like to think about who our husbands would be if they married anybody else. Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the point.
You would be like married to like a go-getter with like a bob cut.
That's horrible.
With her pantsuit.
That's to the point. The virtue comes up. I mean, you come up to the virtue. That's my point.
I agree.
That's the point. Yeah,
I do agree.
Maybe that bob cut would have been in my future. Horrible, short, blunt bob cut. Yeah.
No, she wouldn't.
I can't even think about Joe being married.
I could feel the jealousy.
I get jealous
just thinking about it.
I'm a Scorpio. He's all mine. If I die before him, I guess he'll have a girlfriend. He says he'll never marry. Lena doesn't like that.
What?
Nothing. We're just nothing. Pluto.
They're talking.
So what else? Let's put this to bed. We don't have to beat it. I think that we.
Hold on. Let me
Yeah.
just show that Michael did come with notes. So let us make sure he
I
is
made
covered.
notes on those jerks that I saw, and they angered me.
They did anger all of us.
Because it's like, again, it's very debasing towards again, a number. It just irritates me that it's like they're supposed to be orthodox, whatever that means, because they didn't appear to be orthodox. That's
They didn't appear to be
traditionally-
even Christian
yeah.
on the most basic level. So they
No.
can criticize the Protestant gentlemen, but I'm on Discord with a bunch of Protestants who have enough respect for me as a female that they're not going to use vulgarity. They're not going to be filthy with me in the chat. They're going to go off in as soon as I come in. I can honestly tell you I have seen it or heard it because it's not on camera. It's all like just audio. I've come in and I will hear a guy say, "Up, Mama Mary's here." Mama like talking over people to get them to shut up because there's a lady in the room now.
Yeah.
And it changes the whole dynamic. And
which is, it's like sailor talk and things like that.
Locker
it's
room
like
talk.
Locker room talk.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's like, nope, okay, that's just the guys
blowing
talking,
up, the guys blowing off steam.
But when the ladies are present, you're not going to debase them because you're going to protect their virtue.
Yes.
And
I agree. And I also have heard women.
And it's not pejorative either.
Not at all.
To do that either. That's not a horrible thing. And to your point, where Faye was talking about chivalry was an outcropping of the pagan world, which treated women in a very different way. Like, you had to get married. When the Christian world came about, the Christians were like, no, marriage has to be consent. You can't make anybody marry anybody without consent. Also, a husband, a father or a mother couldn't say that a woman, their daughter couldn't go into like the
convent,
couldn't become a convent, because that was a higher calling. You couldn't stop her from doing that. That was her decision she had to make. They had the ability to make their own decisions, who they were going to marry
for a higher calling. No,
calling.
Not always, because I do kind of have a liking of arranged marriages.
There was probably some pressure in that, but ultimately consent had to be freely given for it to be a valid sacrament.
Right, and the father would have to give his consent to the male before. Yeah,
but
I agree with.
But I'm saying,
sorry,
we're
gonna hand talk each other out of here.
We're gonna slap each other. But and then I think chivalry was an outcropping of a reaction to the pagan world's view of women, where the Christian world is, oh, well, we're all equal in Christ. We're all saved by Christ. So they're just different duties and responsibilities. And chivalry was like, okay, well, now we're going to protect these women who are not as physically strong. And we have, as stronger people, we have to protect them. And we have to protect their virtue from these pagan weirdos or whatever was going on. And I think, and that's not a bad thing. And chivalry carried itself so long.
Also, I did hear a really cool story. Sorry, we're monopolizing it. One more thing. I did hear a story this week, or was it last week? It doesn't matter. And it was a story about knights. Now, I'm not sure if this is just a story, but I also am all about the fanfic. So I'm here for this story. And the knights would unsheath their sword and hold it in front of them whenever the Gospels were read, because they were willing to fight for the Word of God as a symbol. Now, did it happen? I don't know. Was it a cool story? Yes. So.
Well, I don't know anything, but I love the idea, and I'm very open to the fact that we're post-apocalyptic and the millennial reign happened. And I think that there's, a lot to be said about those stories, but who knows? Not me.
Well, we're definitely post-Christendom, and does post-Christendom mean post-apocalyptic?
Exactly. Yeah. Just the fact that they call the Middle Ages the Dark Ages is enough for me to know that they were the Light Ages. Mm-hmm. That's all I need to know.
Yep. Absolutely agree. They debase the Middle Ages being like this dark time, and all the technology advances and things like that, and the rights are given.
Hold on, what year is this?
Well, the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages
Oh,
and that
wait,
sort of
when's
thing.
that though? Just give me a year.
The modern, so basically the fall of Rome.
I don't want the whole history. Just
Okay.
what year is the Faye? What year is the Middle Ages? So I know.
500 year
500,
Yeah.
Okay.
about 1500.
Thank you.
So
Right.
about-
And then you have the Renaissance, where all the art starts becoming very occultic and perverted, and I love it. I've mentioned it before. The Unexpected Cosmology is my absolute favorite for that research. You can get lost on that page. He's fascinating.
Well, certainly
But,
a lot of the Renaissance art was pagan in origin, because they had rediscovered those texts especially after the Crusades and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of paganism in that and a lot of pagan themes. But then some of it was just gorgeous. Like you look at the Sistine Chapel.
Oh no, the Sistine Chapel with God showing his butt. Do you know that? Hold on, I don't even know if Mike knows that.
That's a Mandela effect.
That is definitely. No, he had all kinds of nudes up there. He had a perfectly placed loincloth. And then all of a sudden God's flying away and his butt's hanging out.
Right.
No.
Maybe it was
And the finger with
It wasn't.
God's finger and Adam's. It used to be God's was above, and now it's like, you know how I feel. That's another reason why I don't give. That's another reason why I don't give these ortho bros the time of day.
Awesome, though,
Hold on, she's talking.
I don't give any truther or any religious teacher the time of day if you deny the Mandela effect. You have to at least be curious and look into it. The
art for me is a huge.
There's so much, and the ortho bros totally ignore it.
Your Mandela effect.
So.
Oh, working. Tell her.
Oh, my Mandela effect video?
No, I said.
Oh,
video,
my personal Mandela effect. My personal Mandela effect. Does she want to know my personal?
Of course
Mandela
she does.
I have. Okay.
No.
So,
His the only reason why.
So like
we can have the only reason why we can have a conversation about the Mandela effect is because my husband had an experience back in the 90s. Okay,
so as you're aware, I think you're aware, I worked at Blockbuster Video from like 1991 up until like I graduated from law school. So I'm working there, and I'm convinced to this day, and I can tell you what Cubby Bay, what video, how many in it was. This video was.
Yeah,
and it was.
So you knew the complete layout of the store.
Yeah, I knew the complete layout of the store. I could tell you where any video was in the store. I'd be like, okay, that's fourth Cubby Bay over to the right, top shelf, fourth in. That's where that movie is.
That's your Asperger's.
That's my Asperger's.
Totally.
That's my weird, bizarre photographing memory.
Yeah.
The movie with Sinbad the comic where he was a genie. It doesn't exist.
No,
but I can tell you.
He can tell you exactly where it was in the video store.
I can tell you where it was.
How is that possible?
It was in comedies, and it was on the new release wall.
I don't know how any of it's possible.
Yeah, it was on the new release wall too. I can tell you where it was there, but it doesn't exist.
You're talking about Shazam.
It's supernatural. Your memery's not wrong.
With Shaquille O'Neal, but they were different movies.
Oh, he's getting mad.
Sinbad, damn it.
Well, there's one thing. Being raised Protestant, I know my Bible. And I do know my Bible. I remember.
We don't. Mike and I can't do that.
So, but I do know it. I remember there would be this Bible quiz show on, and my brother would sit next to me, and I would get every answer right. And he was amazed. He was like, I didn't know you knew your Bible so well. I'm like, no, I know my Bible. And not only did I study my Bible in churches, I also took college level courses in the Bible. So I know my Bible. There's two Mandela effects that I'm telling you I would bet my life on. And I'm kind of getting worried that it might come to that, because I think that people that believe in the Mandela effect, especially for like the religious reasons, might be persecuted at some point. We're going to be called crazy. It's going to be bad. But there's two that I would bet my life on. And one is where two or more are gathered. I know it said where two or more are gathered. I would bet my life on that. The other one is the Lion and the Lamb. And that's it. But we could do a show on the Mandela effect another time. Like, we could do a show. Oh, but I'll keep going. I love it. Joe loves it. We had friends over last weekend. You were questioning them.
Yeah, just throwing them out there, see what people remember. It's interesting.
C3PO.
Oh, with the leg.
Like, my husband's a huge nerd. No offense. In like the most high regard.
Badge of honor.
Well, that's why I've always been fond of him. I love my Star Wars too. I get it.
Nope. Never a thing. You should go back and watch all the original Star Treks and be like, huh.
Captain Kirk is a hunk. Wait.
You know what I mean?
It's very, very, very exciting for me because we did a show a few weeks back about distractions and psyops and what was the other one? Distractions, psyops, and just everything. But like the Mandela effect is a little bit more exciting, and it's very exciting. But I don't know what it is. Brian Staveley is the best on that research.
Sometimes I do think that a lot of Mandela effect is perhaps hubris, and it's people. It's people thinking, oh, well, my memory is correct.
See, this is where dimensional shift comes in.
Perhaps.
Yeah, definitely.
But, that's where I do. For 100%, I'll tell you that Sinbad was in that Florida movie.
Yeah, it was there.
But I can also think, okay, perhaps.
You know what's weird also? No, that also my sister. Perhaps. But you're not.
But I rented her that movie.
No.
And she loved that movie.
Even my sister, who also is like, oh, Mandela effect, Schmandela effect. Mm-hmm. She's also like, I remember the freaking trailer for this video. Mm-hmm. So in my family, that's as deep as this puddle runs. All right.
One of my favorite, I feel like this one, there's only two that I would literally bet my life on. I just said them. They're related to the Bible, and I do think it's going to come down to the love of truth. I don't know where this is going to go, but I like this. I mean, if we're following the scripts, we might have to give up our lives at some point. But this one I wouldn't give my life up for, but I'm 100% certain there's no way we all put a silent N in the word dilemma. We all know that we spelled it.
Dilemma's not spelled with an N. It's not dilemma anymore.
It's not.
Even though when you were in a spelling bee, that in February were like
the real
teasers. Yeah, dilemma was another huge.
And it's never. I love to collect old dictionaries. Should I go get an old dictionary and I'll look it up right now? Any old.
You have one?
I'll go get it. I'll go get one of my old dictionaries. Always, whenever you get a chance, it's just if you go like at a yard sale, buy any old dictionary. Let's see what it says. Hold on.
Anyway, I'm gonna say hi to the chat if you guys don't mind. I have let me just give a real quick hello to the chat.
Hello.
So we have Mel, not Luke, I am your father. Even though, isn't it funny that the actor himself, what's his name?
James Earl Jones?
James Earl Jones. Even in interviews, he got that line wrong. Weird.
I wonder if they different movies.
Stop.
There's lots of them in the movies.
Baby,
Mike was awesome during
I don't see so well. Joe's gonna look it up.
I know, right?
It's tiny.
Hold on, I'm just saying hi to the chat real quick. And also,
hi,
I don't know if Boston Ray is still here, but hold on. Going back to the first Mandela, I remember living in Ireland when Mandela. Facts.
Thank you for sharing. That's the original one. That's the OG.
We do have other people here. Oh, do I have to go up? Yeah, I do want to talk to Ray about what's going on at the State House right now, but that's not for my stream. That's for his stream, and I'm gonna.
Well, let's just all say our prayers that we live in a crazy world that brings up Pete Dalton. Those are our friends that were here last week, and I love them so much. Party explain who the Orthodox that you keep on mentioning. They're just a bunch of they're Orthodox Christians, and they're all going to get on YouTube and tell us all how to live our lives and live foul language. Pete should call in sometime. Pete, if there's anything you want to discuss, he would be hilarious, and he's a good friend, and he would be awesome as a guest. All right, what do you have, George?
I can't see this.
I'll go get my magnifying glass. 3 fingers. Love this. Love you, 3 fingers. Hope you're doing good.
And Frank was also here earlier, and they had a hilarious. Frank, Joe King, Boston Ray. They had a hilarious back and forth where they just kept saying their names to each other with exclamation points.
Nice.
Me and Mike were cracking up, but anyway.
Oh, I love it.
So, hello everybody.
That's nice. Thanks for
Oh my
stopping. I'm
God,
going to magnifying glass with my old dictionaries. Christian Knapp.
Stop the presses, Christian.
And he had a professional photo taken and everything.
He's just good looking.
All right, he is good looking. I'm gonna go get something in honor of Christian Knapp. I'll be right back.
Yes, good to see you, Christian. Long time no see. Hopefully, summer's almost over and we haven't done any like meetups, or maybe you guys have, but I haven't been able to join. But
Dilemma, 2 M's. I found it.
I'm back, Mary. I have one for you.
Oh, that's cute.
Levelhead bought in. Ray gave it to me. Thanks.
Why?
Best flatter band in
That's a big butt.
it's Levelhead. Best flatter band ever. So did you look it up?
Yeah, it's Dilemma.
Dilemma, 2 M's. Tell them to me that's a mic drop right there.
I got February wrong in spelling class. I'm telling you, I got Dilemma wrong. Because every single one of us, when we were learning it and we all had it in spelling, which is probably part of the way this reality works, we all learned it. We all would say dilemma. I remember that as clear as day. No, I remember saying dilemma, and that's what made dilemma so hard to spell, that you had to memorize the silent N in it.
Well, they do change crap over time, because now it's like I don't know if anyone remembers.
But they have an old dictionary.
Yeah, but how do they change?
They don't any dictionary. The other big one for me, and not that I can talk about the Mandela effect because I don't have any answers, so don't look at me, is the geography changes. When I was a little girl, one of the reasons I got interested in flat Earth is because I literally collect globes. And when I was a little girl, asked my mom, one year for Christmas, I got my own globe, and I dreamt of question for Mike exclusively.
Absolutely.
So my mom got me a globe for Christmas. I was thrilled. It's all I ever wanted. I dreamt of traveling. I specifically wanted to go to Rio de Janeiro. I thought that it sounded exotic. I thought I wanted to see the big Jesus sculpture. I thought the pictures of it looked beautiful. I've always been a beach person. And so what I used to do is I used to go take my finger from Massachusetts and do a straight line right down to Rio de Janeiro. Guys, I did it probably about at least 50 times when I was a little girl, 50 to 100 times. I dreamt of going to Brazil, Rio de Janeiro. Now, if you do Massachusetts to Rio, it's like way over here. It's different. And you can go and there's any globe, it's changed on. But anyway.
I can't believe that you even knew that place existed when you were a kid. Not you, Faye.
No, Rio?
Oh no, geography was my favorite subject when I was a kid. I loved.
I never, even now, it's like, I'm terrible. I'm not one for geography.
Play a game. I had an Encyclopedia Britannica, and Mike, I'm a nerd too. Okay, this is why we've always got along. So I used to take my globe and I used to spin it, and then wherever it landed, I would go to my Encyclopedia Britannica and look it up. I needed some friends. I was lonely. I did do that a lot.
Which way do you remember the Panama Canal going?
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one.
What do you mean? Which way?
Like which direction? Which direction does it go? Like.
Well, when east to west.
Yeah. No. Look at it again. It's north-south now.
North-south. Indeed.
Yeah.
Wait,
so Mary.
Wait, no, you mean west to east.
It doesn't matter. It's east, west, west, east.
It doesn't go this way. It goes this way now. And Mary, the same thing with the same thing. This is
projection too, though.
Mary. The same thing with the Nile River and Brandon Flowers in my literal favorite song of all time called "Spaceman" by The Killers. It explains life, in my opinion. He says, They say the Nile used to run from east to west. They do say that because it used to run from east to west, and now the Nile runs north-south as well.
But I thought they used to say that Cleopatra was white too.
I don't know.
That has north south, really, Mel. So Mel remembers, but I will say Mel is a younger person.
I always remember the. Oh, is he talking about the Panama Canal, or is he talking about?
I hope. Yeah, I assume that's no. The Nile. I always running from
south to north.
South to north.
Yeah, that's how.
Oh, but yes, because there was the Fertile Crescent at the top of it.
The isthmus. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to start in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, he's talking about the Panama Canal. I don't know.
If anyone's like, what the hell are they talking about? It's something called the Mandela effect. The best person is Brian Staveley. He's been researching it forever. He's got tons of talks on it. There's no one better. The scripture one, the best one is Wake Up or Else.
We won't get into scripture ones because we can't. I mean, if there is no truth, then where do we land?
Well, and that's another thing is that's where tradition comes in too. Because that's how the Gnostic heresy was eventually defeated. Was where they said, okay, because the Gnostics were like, no, these texts are valid. Yeah. My interpretation is valid, and then they said, okay, you got these texts. Tradition says this, so we win.
And John, you're right. And John, but just because it's scary and the implications are very mind blowing and earth shattering doesn't mean it's not true. I'm confused and I don't have the answers. And Mary knows, Joe knows that when I wake up in the morning, I literally, depending on when I have to wake up, I will lay there with my eyes shut and I'll be awake and I'll be saying, please help us, please help us, please help us. This is uncharted territory and we need help. And so that's all I'm praying for. My sister too. That's what we really need help right now. And I've never. You guys aren't Bible thumpers, okay? This isn't good news for Bible thumpers.
That's why we do
blow the head with the Bible.
We have to kind of opt out of the Bible because were you trained in Scripture as a young person?
No, but my natural point would be, well, there's 400 different translations.
Right.
Is how I look at it, and then
I remember one day Faye called me up, and Faye was really upset because she was comparing different versions. So she does know about different versions, and I remember she was really upset because there was a actual quote of Christ himself that was taken out of some versions. Do you remember this, Faye? And you were she does know that.
No, I agree. And
there's blasphemous
Faye's talking about that, and I've never heard it referred to as forgives our debts and our debtors. I've always heard of it as forgive our trespasses.
It's way above my pay grade, but but that doesn't mean. I think for the Bible stuff,
what isn't above our pay grade.
Let her talk.
I think that it's sort of this is where Catholics and Orthos, they're not sola scriptura, and you guys, you were right not to be sola scriptura, and I don't think that you guys ever worshipped a book. Unfortunately, many Protestant sects, and I saw this firsthand, did worship a book and still do, and I don't think God wants us to worship a book. That's all I can see right now, and I'm not any expert on anything.
This is where I think you're absolutely on the right track here too. What you just said is, and going back to our full circle here, is that line in Scripture where they say, "Women be subservient to their husbands," and a whole lot of evil has been done and misinformation has been done based on that, because nobody's taking into account everything in the actual tradition, what happened. And the roles of women. What? She hates what I just said. Because I think you're absolutely right. Is you can't just look at that one thing and understand it. And I think that there's a lot that goes into it, and that's why a lot of damage has been done. and a lot of these, Gnostics and communists have made hay out of that, saying, "Look, we're women, you're debased because you're just subservient."
Right. You've talked enough. Where's my lipstick?
I've been wearing it. I've been putting it on.
It is the word is written in your heart. It's not on paper. It's not ink. It was God's word is inside of you.
I agree with
That's
that.
what I believe. Anyway.
Like the Ten Commandments are inside of me. Mike, you know how I feel about the law. It's like, why can't we just follow the 10 Commandments? Why can't we just enforce the 10 Commandments? Why does it have to be so convoluted?
Well, because there weren't actually 10 Commandments. Like, this is the thing. Like, it was, so.
It depends how you split them up. You could have, like, if you took every one of the
No, it was like just, everything's a mess. And
you know what? Started down to 2 commandments.
Go someplace.
Oh, sorry, Faye. Go ahead. I found my lipstick.
They say Christ brought it down to 2 commandments: love God, love your neighbor. Isn't that what he said?
Yep.
He was summoning.
Back to full circle is you know what? Love God, love thy neighbor. In these pearly talk things that Christians are inserting themselves, or maybe they're invited, I don't see and hear a lot about love, and I definitely don't feel it. And it's very I called Mary. I was like, this is dark. This is one of the darkest psyops I've ever seen or looked at, and I've been awake since 2012, awake, quote unquote. I've looked at a lot of psyops. This is one of the darkest, and I still don't even fully understand it. It's not good. No bueno. Anyway.
Why is she looking at me?
He's nervous. He's nervous. If he talks, I'm gonna like Mike, shut up. Like
the cat got it.
No, it really upset me, and Mike could attest to the fact that I have been waking him up, being like, Mike, yeah, but Mike. I mean, it's the type of thing that because it's so popular, this whole like all these like it's so popular, and you come across it and you're just like a little disturbed, and I wanted you to make sense of it for me, and you're like listening to it and you're like, no, I see where they're coming from, but it's
wait,
yeah,
the pearly, are you talking about pearly things is so popular?
Oh, just the mentality, the ortho thing is. I was going to grab an icon and throw it in my background. I thought that was disrespectful.
I do believe, and the Mandela effect is part of this. I do believe that we're living in an apocalyptic time, and it's not going to look like Hollywood movies. It's the truth will be revealed. The snake will eat its own tail, and I don't think that it's naturally popular. I know that she's been inserted. She's not good enough to be. She's not popular. The orthos are sweating, like dripping sweat, and like fake laughing with every super chat they get. Only authenticity and honesty is going to rule the day, in my humble opinion. So if you're phony, maybe the stuff is going to appeal to you, but it's not going to appeal to us or any of our kids or anyone that is really searching for the truth. It's inserted. It's they have actresses and actors on stage. It's not real. That's one thing I know.
But in the vacuum of truth, this is what you get. And that's something, haven't I woken you up like 1,000 times? Not 1,000.
No,
probably twice.
Yeah.
But like trying to work it, and Mike also goes to bed at like 8:45, and I stay up
that early.
And I stay up until like 12. And it's like I'm waking him up, or not. He's literally asleep. I don't want people to read into that. Like, he's not awake.
He's awake, and we have to discern, and it's more. First of all, I think that all of us, myself included, might be spending a little bit too much time on YouTube. That's what I'm trying. It's not that my favorite. I've decided, and I really love my job, and I don't know where the orthos and Pearly will say that because I'm a woman. And my kids are older. I really, really appreciate my job because to be busy, it gets my mind off of stuff, and I just get to really focus on the here and now. And I don't work full time, but I don't know. I just want to get back in. I'm not saying there isn't a place for YouTube, but does Mike remember? More questions from Mike. Christian.
No,
I
just
don't remember the standee. I remember the trailer that we used to play in loop.
Oh, so a standee would be like the cardboard cutout.
cutout.
And we have standees that Mike held on to from a bunch of movies.
Vader.
I don't think Shazam was one of them.
Shazam was not.
But he was in a purple vest.
Yeah, purple.
He was looking pretty fly for
magenta.
Yeah, Shazam. That is one that. I mean, when you find out things with the Mandela effect, it's like the world gets like really small and then it expands, and you're like, wait, what?
Wait, he wasn't a captain? Captain Crunch wasn't a captain?
Yeah. Well, there's also persons.
Wait, hold on. What, Mike? This is another one.
His rank. He's a Commodore, actually.
Captain
or Captain.
Oh, it's definitely Captain.
Captain or Captain.
He's not a captain.
He's a Commodore.
There's also Fruit Loops.
Yeah.
You guys know the Fruit Loops?
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But hold on. There was
Looney Tunes one bothers me too. I saw a kid with a Looney Tunes, Tunes, and it doesn't even make sense. Like it was Tunes.
Definitely T-O-O. Looney Tunes. You know it. Come on,
that one I don't know. That one I've watched Looney Tunes so many times I can't even.
It's it's Tunes. And I feel like in what was it? Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Didn't they make it Toontown? Toon?
You know where people maybe
so.
Because it's Merry Melodies.
There's a lot.
And people want to make Tune Tun. They want to make it the same.
No, but now it is Tun.
Oh no.
Wait, am I wrong?
No, you got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it used to be Too.
Yeah.
So that's why I think people get.
Yeah, but now it's Tun. Okay, he doesn't get it. It's fine. I'm not gonna get mad.
Wait, Bugs Bunny's real, right?
One more thing. Also, Faye with that Patera vet video, and she was talking about what does she call it? Appalachia Homestead.
Appalachian, no, the Patriot Nurse.
No, well, yeah, I did do also the Patriot Nurse, but no, remember? Oh, yeah, it was her. You're right, and she was talking about what was it?
2 Minute Hate.
2 minutes of hate.
And I wanted you to share that on our community page because she really nailed it. I haven't seen her in a while, but she really talked about like going out and about, and we're noticing more and more that people are unhinged and people are crazy. And she linked it to the 2 Minute Hate in the book 1984, and it was excellent. I don't follow her anymore, but I should. But Patriot Nurse and just the 2 minute. It was really a really astute observation. What were your thoughts, Mary?
Oh, because she was talking about how people are becoming unhinged. And once one person sees somebody become unhinged, it's like almost like a domino effect. And I feel like we're seeing that all the time right now.
You know what's interesting about that? It's like it's a quote that comes to my mind is that Napoleon used to say, when two lines of men are against each other, a dogfight will start a battle. And it's the same thing. When people are that unhinged, anything's going to set them off.
Mm-hmm.
When everyone's unhinged, just the slightest thing is going to set them off.
Yeah.
It's the same way. It's the same thing. It's like you're going to have a battle, though.
Yeah, so I recommend that video, Faye. I couldn't figure out how to add it to my community post.
Yeah.
So
it's Patriot Nurse, and it's just something about the 2 Minute Hate, and she was right on. And again, I'm not any member of any religion. I do call myself a Christian because I've healed. I've literally healed people in Jesus' name, and I haven't healed them, but He has. The only way we're gonna get through this is with God, and that's one thing. My dad, who is somewhere, and he told me, he's like, you want to talk to God, go to a park and sit by a tree. And I know that a lot of people in my dad's life might not have agreed with him, but this is a time where we have to go inside, and God will tell you where to go talk to Him. him. Some people would even take offense to me saying him, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. That's how I get through the day, because it is. I'm fighting for sanity with the Mandela effect and crazy people. I mean, I'm driving through town. I saw 3 trans people today. 3? It is like why? Where did they come from? It's not natural. It's like the NPCs took a download, as Matt from Quantum would say. Tend to know, giving shout outs.
Shout out. I cannot believe that Kitten Sons doesn't like Patera. That she thinks she's I love Patera. She's
Mary does. I had to unfollow her because Patera did the old "only 2 people have died for your freedom," and that's the American soldier and Jesus Christ. And I was like, unsub.
I was like, amen, sister. Yes.
Amen. The American soldier needs to go to class action lawsuit against the government. That's my opinion.
Oh God! All right, let us give Joe the mic. Let us give Joe anything you want to talk about, Joe.
I like talking about the Mandela effect. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Well, let's go back to let's wrap up the PSYOP thing with the
Well, you didn't want to talk about the other video?
What other video? Oh, the surrogates. She watched the surrogates. My favorite line.
Let Joe kick it off.
I mean,
I'll just start. This was the most haunting line in this for me. It said it was in a video. I think it was called To Be Frank or Really Frank, and it was with Really Graceful. She did, and she's got a big following. But what I was more concerned with what he was talking about at the beginning. She was talking about like homes and mortgages, which is always like five alarm. But he was talking about surrogacy, and he said this was haunting. He goes, "Everyone can be a parent, but no one can be a mother." And take it from there. It was really, really what's going on with surrogacy.
It was super disturbing, very disturbing video. Did Mike watch it? Did you watch it, Mike?
No, I have not watched it. I don't know. I actually don't know anything about what happened.
I don't even know where to begin with it. It's
basically I'll just Mary, I'm sorry. It's kind of like class warfare, okay? We're already seeing it that like if we've already been here, the haves and the have-nots, and women who are very far in debt, who are very much in debt and on and need money and a leg up are offering their wombs to people that have the money to pay. A recent case they talked about was 2 homosexual men paid this woman to carry their baby, and it was found out later on that she had some sort of cancer. Okay, and the baby
I do know this.
There might be something wrong with the baby. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. So instead of the woman,
they didn't want her to take.
They made her abort the baby. Long story short,
they didn't want her to take the poison cancer treatment that they give out.
No. Okay, let me explain it right now.
Okay.
So, what happened was, so the woman was a surrogate mother. She had aggressive stage 4 breast cancer, and they could have induced the baby early. I think she was at 22 weeks or 25 weeks, and they wanted to wait to 28 to 30 weeks so she could have treatment for her aggressive breast cancer. And these 2 dads said, no, we want you to terminate the pregnancy immediately because we don't want to risk any health issues with the child with a premature birth. So the woman was then forced they induced labor. She gave birth to a child prematurely, and they did a DNR on the child. So she was able to get pictures with her little teeny tiny baby, and her mom was also there taking pictures with the little teeny tiny baby, but they wouldn't give it life-saving measures. So the child was, he died. I think it was a girl, but the child is dead because they didn't want to risk inconvenience of actually having a child. So
I mean,
Go ahead.
Gross.
I could have sworn this was illegal. I mean,
not with surrogacy. I am
I
telling
just thought a lot of this stuff was illegal back
it's
in
illegal with adoption, but apparently it's not with surrogacy. I mean, it sounds the
with
same
adoption
thing.
though, it's not. See, adoption is legal child trade. And I have a lot to say on the laws of adoption.
Yeah, but they couldn't make somebody abort.
Yes, but at the same time, they can walk away if
They
your
can walk
child.
away, that's for sure.
If
Yeah,
the child that you didn't abort,
it has a defect. Yes, they could.
Yes.
They could, but they can't make you abort. She was made to abort.
she was made to induce.
Induce.
So it is
one
like
half dozen.
no, it's actually more extreme than already the horrible laws that we have in place when it comes to adoption
Mhm.
in this country, which is
Yeah.
legalized child trade.
The cost of it too. The cost of adoption is ridiculous.
That's why I'm saying legalized child trade, because
No, you're right. I never
birth
thought about
mothers-
that. You're right.
the birth mothers get nothing. The adoption agencies get $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 for an exchange that has nothing to do with them.
And that's written into the tax code too, that the parents,
Mhm.
the adopted parents, get a tax break for the
Yep.
adoption too. And then they get
It's
then they
really
get
messed up.
they get maternity and paternity leave for adopting too, even though there's not the basis for the medical
So I mean,
issues.
but surrogacy, from what Faye's talking about with this, really gracefully on this live, they're talking about renting a womb,
Mhm.
and it's really so extreme. There was the other one. So a surrogate gave birth, and this homo, and you know what? They're not all gay men.
Mhm.
A lot of them are. Like, I heard them say Kim Kardashian driving through a trailer park waving a wad of cash. You know, because celebrities also
It
use
is. It's. I mean the gap between the rich and the poor. I mean, I like everyone's always. It's really getting big. It's by design, which is another part of the psyop with the orthos and the pearly things. Is like you got to have money to be a man as it gets more and more difficult as money gets more and more difficult to accumulate and keep. So go ahead.
So this other one, so Kitten Sons also brought up like Michael Jackson. Remember the story of Michael Jackson going into like a neo ward and grabbing the baby and taking the baby home, and God only
blanket over it. Didn't he throw a blanket over it?
no, that was blanket.
Like,
No, but that's why
that wasn't his first baby.
Didn't he dangle a kid out of a window once? Too?
That was blanket.
That was blanket.
his name
But
was
wait,
Blanket.
No,
That's
that's
his
blanket.
name. Oh
But
man.
hold on. So
Back in the good old days.
Holy crap.
now things are crazy. Go ahead. Yeah.
there was this I know, right? So there was this other story they were talking about where another homosexual man, he hired a surrogate, and the surrogate gave birth to the child, and he came into the delivery ward with his outfit covered in bird crap. He had birds on him to collect the child. And at least the
Ew.
nurses had enough sense to call social services. And then they found out, guess what? The other children were also living in horrible conditions. The other children that he rented a surrogate.
God help us. All right. Well,
Sounds
I know,
like
I'm
this-
losing my voice.
This is again women being.
and we're all time. I'm hearing thunder. Is that?
It's
Do I
like,
hear
oh,
that?
well, she has a right
I'm
to
hearing
use her body.
We're
thunder.
undercover. I got you. I'll protect
Say it
you.
again.
No,
Say
she
it
has
one
a
more time.
right. She had a
She's a
right to use her body.
commodity.
She's a commodity. She has a right to use her body
Yeah.
however she's fit. But you're making her a commodity.
Well,
Right.
that's also what prawn
Yeah,
or
exactly.
OF will
Yeah.
say. Same thing. You're
Mhm.
a commodity. You're monetized.
You're a unit of production to be consumed.
Yes.
Right. And this is why and back full circle to the pearly thing, psyop, that it's so dark because they talk about both men and women as commodities, and your value is so it's all material, and any real Christian needs to really think about that, and I would hope not be involved, but people got to build their channels, get those subs, get those super chats. They're not fooling me.
We're gonna change the language. It's high virtue.
High virtue.
I love that.
There
Yes.
you go.
I love that our men came up with that.
Well, I'm a high virtue man, and you know what? I don't want my daughter to be a flooze. Nobody wants a daughter to be a flooze, okay? That's like, we don't need to like the hard H. And you know what? Scale of 1 to 10, it depends on who you're talking to. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I truly believe that. You know? Come on.
Amen. All right.
Amen.
Well, good talking.
Thank you for anyone coming. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Joe.
Joe needs the final say because poor Joe.
No, I don't need the final say.
Say
No.
final say.
Blabbermouths here.
I know.
He's
Final
used to us,
say.
Mary.
Wait,
Mike's known our family longer. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm doing our extra, Joe. Final word.
Love everybody. Love all you guys.
God bless.